It's 39 degrees up here in Cleveland. The sun is shining brightly, but we are expecting the possibility of snow in the morning. So if you were thinking that spring had sprung, guess what? It ain't here yet. Perhaps in the next couple of weeks or so, we'll start to see the leaves emerge from the trees and the blossoms come, and we get to enjoy and experience the grandeur of the change of seasons here in Cleveland, Ohio. We've got a few things that will be going on at Larchmere Arts in the coming days, so stay tuned. We're going to start doing our concerts and spoken word events and gallery stuff, all the things that go along with Larchmere Arts. So stay tuned and check out our Facebook page. We'll keep you up to date on that, as well as the 360 Info Network Facebook page, because we are dropping cultural information on that page almost on a daily basis. So if you haven't been to Facebook and our 360 Info Network page, please do that. And in the process, also check out Larchmere Arts on Facebook as well. We have a very special guest with us this morning. She's coming to us all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. I connected with her last weekend, and we had a conversation that was so profound that I decided that I must have her on the show so she can share the things that with you that she's going to share this morning. If you are interested in starting a business, or if you have personal credit that you want to clean up, you can definitely reach out to her. She is known as MrsCashFlow on Instagram. So if you want to know how to connect with her, just look up MrsCashFlow on Instagram. Connect with her, and you can see some magical things happen in your life. She's also known as Aqueelah Shabazz. So I'd like to welcome the 360 Info Network, Aqueelah Shabazz. How you doing, sister?
I'm doing amazing, Vince. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, and I am so happy to have you on the air today. You know, we talked about some things that I'm involved in that have been really generating some just massive returns, passive income. And as we were having this conversation, I thought of it as a possibility to help people get started building wealth. You're all about building generational wealth. You're all about helping people get their credit together. And you know, now that we're in the age that we're in, credit is a very important thing. And you shared some things with me that they just seem so unbelievable, but you're doing it, and it's working for you, and it's working for the folks who you are connecting with. So, you know, we want to dive into that. But before we do that, I just want to get an idea from you about who Aqueelah Shabazz is, what lanes you've been traveling in, and what has brought you to where you are today in the position to help people build wealth.
Amazing question, Ben. So my name is Aqueelah. I'm known as MrsCashFlows on IG and other social media channels. This has been a very interesting road for me, right? So all my student loans and all my background in my undergrad, I was a network analyst for a lot of years. So when the 07 crash came along in 08, of course, just like everyone else, I was laid off. And I had continued to keep getting laid off. So I ended up house hacking. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, I bought a 3-unit with a basement, and I lived in one of the units. That was my first step of entrepreneurship. And I stayed there, and then I ended up being a landlord for many years. I got laid off another job, and it led me into the short-term rental space. I scaled to 14 units. I wasn't very coachable at the time. Everyone knew that was dangerous. I did not listen to my mentor at the time. I went from 2 units, corporate rentals, to 14 in 1 year. Huge, huge mistake. And, of course, what happens when you make rookie mistakes? A drought hit. And right after the drought, it was a 4-month drought. The pandemic hit. I was done. I had never suffered any money issues before in my life. Me not listening to my mentor's direction, I had personally guaranteed everything. I did not build business credit. I did not put the units in my corporate business name. It was horrible. I just started to bleed. Money was being taken out of my checking accounts. It had gotten so bad for me that I couldn't even pay my own rent. So I was living in Chicago at the time. So when we got the notice that they weren't evicting people due to the pandemic, I had several months to figure it out. Very horrible. So I ended up relocating here to Atlanta, where I now reside. This city has been so amazing to me. So now that I'm bankrupt, when I get here to Atlanta, broken, the only monies I did have, thank God for assets, I was able to sell my 4-unit property. And that gave me a little bit of a leg up. I immediately got mentorship. And in that mentorship, it included financial literacy. And some of the things that I'm here to share with you today, I didn't immediately think that this was my lane. I used to be one of those people who will hear people tell stories about the one I'm about to tell you. Like, oh, that's so nice. This person found their purpose. But seriously, I honestly feel like this was a setup from God. I just found myself helping people, and here I am. I could not hoard this information for myself, and what that includes is using your personal credit and your business credit and leveraging it to scale, grow, and create and build your dream. It is possible.
Okay. So basically what you're doing is you're taking money that you are able to borrow, and then you can use that money to facilitate implementing business, purchasing things for a business, and over a period of time, you pay the money back. But it's what you do while you are borrowing this money that really puts you in a position to prosper. And we want to talk about what those strategies look like. We are simulcasting on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm getting information right now that people are having a hard time hearing. So they're able to see us, but they're not able to hear us. But I would just let everyone know you can always tune into newstalkcleveland.com, and you can hear the audio, and you can see us at the same time. We'll work these kings out, but we want to take 360 Info Network to the next level. So we're going to work through these challenges, and we're going to make things happen in the very near future. But okay, someone says now they can hear me. I think what it is, they can hear me, but they can't hear you. But again, we're going to post this as a podcast to my YouTube channel today. So if you weren't able to hear, you will be able to hear and see when the time comes. It is 11:15 right here on AM 1490 WERE. This is 360 Info Network. I'm Vince Robinson. Our guest is Aqueelah Shabazz. She is MrsCashFlow on IG. Just so you know how you can reach out to her and take advantage of what she's offering today. We're going to be right back after these messages from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Hi, I am Frances Caldwell, Executive Director of the African American Museum, welcoming you to join us as we continue to rebuild, grow, develop, and help the community. In addition to the rich historical exhibits we have, we are offering community education, cultural opportunities to enhance our children, including free dance and business classes. The African American Museum celebrates over 60 years as America's oldest independent Black museum. And as our founder, Ichabod Flewellen, intended, we are heading for higher heights and renew community education, history, and culture. You can contribute to the success of this valued institution by becoming a member. To make your $35 yearly membership pledge, Cash App $AAMCLE. For more information, please visit our website at aamcle.org or call 216-721-6555. Thank you for your support of Cleveland's African American Museum.
She is known as MrsCashFlow, and she is helping people improve their business as well as their personal credit. And I guess basically what you do is you open up an account, you get a credit card, you're able to borrow against that credit card, and over a period of time you can pay the money back, but you can also use the money to fuel your dreams. Would you agree with that assessment, Aqueelah?
Yes, but I want to take it a little further. What my company does is it actually is like a financial literacy portion to that. So we're going to set you up in the correct fashion on your personal side as well as establish and build the business credit side. It's a huge mystery, and it's a lot of things that goes on in the background that people and the regular consumer just do not understand. First off, I like to just briefly, as quickly as I possibly can, on the personal side. So people think that credit score matters. The answer to that is no. I don't care about credit score, your credit score, or what it is, because the bank does not care about your credit score. I personally had a 750 credit score and a 748 and a 748 on all three reports. I'm trying to avoid calling them bureaus because they're not bureaus. The credit reporting agencies, the big three that you may know, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and I had a bankruptcy. Does not mean that I was approved for business credit. That bankruptcy had to go. So number one, there is something out there called the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I highly, extremely, and highly advise that you read this. We have rights. We have laws that are protecting us to avoid negativity and negative items to be reported onto our credit report themselves. Things like public notices, liens, anything you can think of can be removed from your credit report because you have legal rights to have it removed. That's number one. Second portion of what I do, it all works in tandem. It's all working in together, right? So with the business credit, you have to establish and build it out, right? There's levels that needs to happen in order for you to even go into a bank. First, you need to establish credibility with your business. And by credibility, I mean you need to make sure you have an EIN number and make sure that the address that you use, that's step number one, to create that EIN number. First you create your LLC, your EIN number, and then you need a corporate address, right? I'm trying to go through this because it's a lot, and I don't want to throw up on you, right? But with your EIN number, whatever address you use to create your EIN, that's the very same address because the IRS like to shorten the name. Some cities, like the one I live in Atlanta, they like to spell out the word street, STREET. But the EIN number, the address that's displayed on your EIN on file with the IRS, it may abbreviate it to ST. Something as simple as that naming convention conflict can result in a denial. Number three, you want to get a corporate business address, something like the one that I'm in, like a WeWork, right? So this is where you can have a physical office. However, they also offer a downgraded service, which is just a mailing service, which is like $50 a month. You want to avoid UPS boxes and any mailing services where they only provide the mail service, but it's not a physical corporate office. Number four, you want to make sure that you have a professional email address, right? You do not want a Gmail address, so not company XYZ LLC at Gmail. You want it to be the name of the business info at the name of your business.com. And you also want to create a professional website. So another thing, your phone number. I was just about to forget about that. You want to make sure you have a corporate business phone number, not a Google Voice. We know when you're using a Google Voice and it does not appear professional. So you want to get something like phone.com or Ring Central. And once you get that phone number, you want to register it with the National 411 database. And you do that by going to 411.info. And you also want to register your business with Google. So when I go in and say xyzenterprises.com, all of that information I just displayed to you will pop up on the screen, and that's the first line of the underwriting process for business credit. And if any of those things are out of sync, denied.
So essentially what you're doing is you're talking about establishing a business, but you're establishing it in a credible way. So when you have the right web address, when you have the right email address, when you have the right physical address, you have all these things in place based on the credibility that represents you are able to obtain credit. And then you use that credit to leverage whatever ideas that you might have in terms of furnishing your business or acquiring services. you're going to have to pay for that website. You're going to have to pay for that phone number. You're going to have to pay employees if you have employees. You have all those expenses that come up in the process of having a business, and you're able to borrow money to do those kinds of things. But you can also borrow money for other expenditures, and that could possibly include investments for your business. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And let me go a little further, because I had to give them a break. And that was a mouthful, right? Okay. That's just the foundation. Now, once we've done all those steps, we can now start building and getting like vendor accounts, because now we're building out an actual business profile. I want you to kind of think of your business profile, but like building a personal profile, but it operates in a very different fashion. So now we start getting vendor accounts, and we start reporting positively, and then we go up to the next level, which is the corporate credit cards. This is where you'll see a big bulk of money after you've done phases 1 and 2 in the correct fashion. And this is a lot. This is why I exist, because it's so worth it. So once you get to that step, my company we have like a system that will help get you the multiple amount of credit cards all in one swoop, right? And in doing so, we're avoiding placing all those negative inquiries on your account, on your personal side, which can reduce it, right? Because when you're establishing and building business credit in the beginning, you're not really established here. We're in the process of building it up. So they take a little peek on the personal side, but it's typically a soft pull just to see how you paid bills in the past to determine how much they're going to give you on your business side. It's just a peek. They will then report and allow you to build and establish on your business side. That's just in the beginning. And then from there, that's when we can go and get lines of credit from reputable banks, which my company have relationships with. And then we go from there. And yes, you can then use this money for whatever you need to in your business. For an example, on the business credit side, they like to give you and approve you for credit cards that's 3 to 5 times higher limit than you would that on your personal credit. Say, for instance, your highest personal credit card is $5,000. You can receive approvals on your business credit side anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 each credit card. The average person gets up to $250,000 in business credit and funding within the first year if built out in the correct way. Another thing I would like to mention, there's something called no-doc loans that are available in lines of credit that are available to business owners once established and built out in the correct fashion. No-doc simply means exactly what it sounds like. No tax returns are required. It's just stated stated income. So you can go to, there's programs like that that's out there, like, hey, I anticipate my company on making $150,000 in revenue this year. And you will receive approvals based on that. Another point I would like to point out. Most credit cards are up to 18 months, 0% APR. That's huge. That means you have free money to establish and build and scale your dream. This way you can go into business with the capital partner. This is changing lives. I'm seeing it every day. That is huge. I want that to really sink in.
Okay, so give us some examples. Are there any entities that you can share with us that have benefited from what you've been able to do for them, and how did it happen for them?
Okay, so right now I have Think Ventures, Inc., which is like my own company. So I did use some of that money, right, to liquidate some of the credit cards and put it into an investment account. I also paid for 2 mentorships. I paid for a $12,000 mentorship, and I also I'm about to pay for another one that's $55,000. I know it sounds insane, but this guy is huge, and I've seen his work, and he's worth every dime. So it's going to allow me to get this mentorship, which will then allow me to feed my community with more information, which then allow me time to pay it back. And I did that on a credit card.
Okay. So in light of the fact that you're assisting others in getting started and doing what you're doing and basically duplicating what you're doing, could you describe what your coaching process is like?
Okay, so what we'll do an assessment. We'll see where you are on the personal side as well as the business side. And depending what your goals are, a lot of people are coming to me, and especially this past week, I don't know what's going on, but a lot of people, they need money now. And I'm just going to say this right now. If you're overutilized, if your utilization is, maybe I should explain that part. There's 5 data points on the personal side that banks look at, and it's not your personal credit score. I kind of skipped over that information. You need to make sure that everything is paid on time, everything, no late payments over the past 24 months. This is why I like business credit, because if you're late within 6 months, that late payment falls off. On your personal side, you're typically penalized 2 to 5 years from one late payment. One late payment can drop your score 50 points, right? Your utilization. What is utilization? Utilization is the amount of credit limit you have on a credit card versus the amount you're actually using. They tell you to keep that number below 30%, but if you want any real impact, you want to make sure that you keep that number below 10%, so no more than 9%. So if it's a $1,000 credit card, please do not use no more than $90. I know, right? They give you $1,000 and then they penalize you for using it. That's why this thing is so confusing. You want to make sure there's no derogatories, no bankruptcies, no late payments, no public notices. And this is some of the things that my company helped clean up for you in order to get you set up in the right fashion. So a lot of people are coming to me, they're desperate. They have late payments and overutilization. Banks are going to automatically see that, and they don't like to give people money, right? They don't like to give you money when you need it. So it's a little discipline that has to come along with this when you're establishing and building it. And that's where we are, and that's what I can help you with.
Okay. So we've talked about business credit, and you also deal with personal credit, and we want those who are maybe not interested in going through all that's necessary to create a business and take advantage of what we just talked about, but they want to make some improvements in their own personal situation. Are there any things that you could give them right now that could help them get perhaps to a better credit score?
Yes. First, you want to make sure that you reduce your utilization. That makes up 35% of your credit score. Number 2, you want to make sure that you understand the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Understand what rights are to you. Just Google that, and you will get it's a lot of information. That's why people like me exist. But you do have rights. You have rights to dispute that information, okay? You can do something as simple as going in and disputing it all, and some of it will come off, right? If it's anything that's more than that, maybe seek a professional to help you along the way. The amount of money that you're going to pay for is pennies in comparison to your freedom, right? I had a bankruptcy, and to piggyback off the question you asked of me earlier, how can myself personally, I was bankrupt. I got my bankruptcy removed in 5 months. This is something that should have penalized me for 10 years. The reason I was able to have it removed is because they were violating my personal rights. And I never gave them the permissible right to report this information. A lot of things that people do not know, I have one for you. There are a lot of secondary agencies out there called LexisNexis, CoreLogic, ARS, and it's a few more, right? I can't think of it, but it's a lot of them. LexisNexis is a data collection agency. All of these people are data collection agencies, right? They illegally collect your personal information, things like my bankruptcy, and then they sell them to the so-called bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. That in itself is illegal. So they then sell your personal data to them, and this is how this information is being reported to your personal credit report. What you could do, reach out to CoreLogic, check systems. If you're having issues getting checking and banking accounts, these are all records on companies that collect personal data that prevent you from moving forward in your life. Once again, go to CoreLogic, ARS, Sage Stream. That's who I was forgetting. And LexisNexis, as well as LCI. Look all these companies up. Either freeze your account with them and or opt out. You never gave them the permissible right to report and collect this information on you, nor did you give them the permissible right to report it.
Okay.
So that is huge. That is definitely a gem. I don't care if you have good or bad credit. Take those actionable steps today.
Okay. So if you are connected with someone and assisting them in restoring their credit, are these things that you can basically hold their hand and walk them through in order to accomplish those objectives?
100%. We actually just take care of these things for you on the personal side. And then on the business side, we have proprietary software that we give you access to. That's kind of like a module in stepping you up, and you're assigned a coach and an entire customer service team that's available to you. The huge thing about this is you can build out multiple LLCs, right? And let me say this before I get to explaining that. Everyone should have an entity. People use LLCs synonymously. I am a fan of the S Corp. Please speak to a tax professional to see which entity works for you. I don't care if you do have a 9-to-5. Get a side hustle going on. I believe this is, and then legitimize that side hustle. Let me stop saying that and make it a credible business so you can take advantage of some of the programs that I help with my clients, right? So first off, get an entity, please. Your biggest bill is the federal government. And once you get that in your head and you really understand that to be true, you can take this actionable step. So yes, I am here to help you clean up your entire credit process, get you up to that 850 credit score, and then go ahead and get you to that perfect build out on your business side. And I like doing it simultaneously because guess what? I don't want you to be like me. I had an 815 credit score for many, many years, and I did not leverage my personal credit. It kind of makes me feel a little something right here when I now think about I would literally be a multimillionaire. What could have happened had I implemented some of the steps I'm sharing with you today when I was bleeding and my company hit a drought and I had everything in my company name and did everything in the correct fashion? I could have been a Donald Trump and bankrupted the business. I could have had my 815 credit score intact. I could have then started a new S Corp, a new entity, and built up to $250,000 and ran the play again.
I think
but that's okay.
Yes. I think one of the things you're pointing out is that there are definitely some strategic advantages to having an entity, a business or something like that, and most Americans are not inclined to do that. Most of us are just go to job, get our earnings, Uncle Sam takes his cut. You know, we kind of lay back and hope that Social Security will be around when we get to retirement age and we'll get that. You know, if we're fortunate, we might work for a company that gives us a pension and we'll be okay. We have a 401k and we can take money from that. But what people don't know is that 401k accounts are eroding in terms of their value. And with the inflation that we're experiencing right now and the devaluation of the dollars, that security is based on insecurity, and it's also based on the Ponzi scheme that the Federal Reserve is. I mean, the Federal Reserve is one of the biggest Ponzi schemes on the face of this planet, and folks don't know. We're talking about financial literacy, and I think that's part of your mission. You want to elevate people's understanding about finances, because as long as you don't understand finances, they will end up putting you in a place of being exploited. When you learn the rules of the game and you play by the rules of the game, you can get ahead. One thing that wealthy people do is they don't work for their money. They let their money work for them. And you have described a scenario where you can leverage the money that's really, well, it's being created out of thin air. Let's be real about it. It really is because, you know, it's not backed by anything. But you're providing an opportunity for someone to leverage other people's money, OPM, and create money for yourself, and also talk about this whole idea of transgenerational wealth, being able to create something that you can pass down to generations. I know that you're passionate about that. I want to give you a few moments to talk about the importance of creating generational wealth.
Yes. I heard something yesterday, exactly, on Instagram, right? It's a guy out there called the Wall Street Trapper, right? And he says Wall Street looks like us now, and he's speaking about melanated Black people. And he said something that was very profound. He was on an interview, and he says, see, the wealthy don't make the wealthy wealthy, nor does the rich make the rich rich, right? He said poor people make them rich. He said it's just like saying the lion, right? The lion isn't going to teach the gazelle how not to get caught, because if he did that, he wouldn't eat. So I need that to sink in, because I had to share that with you today, because that really did something to me. And I need you to start educating yourself. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is poverty, struggle, and strife, right? And I am here to help you get past that hurdle. I wasn't even supposed to go into this space. The mentorship that I went through had so many different avenues, right? That's another thing. I paid for another $15,000 mentorship to set up a home healthcare business. I am doing this right here because I'm doing it for the culture. I'm doing it for you. People kept coming to me because they saw some of the things I was able to help people with. And I said to myself, it would be a sin for me to hoard this information. And this is the most fulfilling thing I've ever done, because not only am I passionate about it, I know that wealth and a thriving business is for you. Business credit funding, clean credit, 850 plus credit score. Stop paying your bills late. Stop hiding from the creditors. Stop going into business without an economic and financial plan. We do that too often. Take a little time to educate yourself on what's required to do this thing in the correct fashion, right? And I am going to also have a masterclass that's coming up within the next 2 weeks. I want you to text the word masterclass, all one word, to 773-900-8104. Once again, that's 773-900-8104. Text the word masterclass there so I can run down and really teach you what is really available to you. I'm also on Instagram as MrsCashFlows, and I have an ebook system that I have 3 books. It's a do-it-yourself credit repair. It's a do-it-yourself business credit building. And it's also funding secrets of the bank, things that banks don't want you to know in order to be approved. I reduced that price to $167 for this show for all 3 books. Hit me up. And I'm telling you, do not take action.
Okay. I want you to give those phone numbers once again. We'll post them to the podcast that goes up on YouTube so that folks have that, as well as your IG information and website information. So we'll get that online. But if you could give that phone number once again, and then we're going to step away for a few moments.
Okay. Once again, people, if you want more nuggets like the one I'm giving you today, more gems, text the word masterclass to 773-900-8104. Masterclass to 773-900-8104 today.
Okay. Just want to remind the listeners that we are trying something new today. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. We're having issues with audio on her sound, and when we take this break, we're going to try to work through that and possibly bring her in. But if you were not able to hear this broadcast, you will be able to tune into my YouTube channel later today and hear it in its entirety, and you'll be able to hear all the jewels and the wisdom that she's been dropping on us. My guest this morning is Aqueelah Shabazz. She is MrsCashFlow on Instagram. She just gave you her number, and if you want to make some changes in your personal credit or business credit situation, give her a call. She'll coach you through it. I'm sure there's a cost for it, but it's absolutely worth it. She just shared with us that she's paying one mentor $15,000, and she's got another one $55,000, but it's worth it to her to invest in herself and her business to create business opportunities for herself and others in the process. We're going to be back with more 360 Info Network right after these words from our sponsors. Back in a few.
Greater Cleveland's largest selection of African fashions, African art, jewelry, picture frames, and African furniture accessories from the heart of Africa are located at African Art, 16700 Chagrin Boulevard, Shaker Heights, Ohio. Give them a call at 216-269-7421. Enjoy their spacious showroom and gallery and enhance yourself and your home with African art and cultural clothing, fine art, home, and personal accessories. For a limited time, for our 360 Information Network listeners, for every $50 purchase, receive a free handcrafted African fabric mask for personal wear. Our quality is impeccable, and our inventory will meet your need. Open Mondays through Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Enhance your life with African art.
Welcome back to 360 Info Network. Vince Robinson with my guest, MrsCashFlow, Aqueelah Shabazz. She was living in Chicago and things kind of unraveled, and she found herself in the A. You know, we interviewed Jeffrey Charles on another radio show that I do last week. I don't know if you know who Jeffrey Charles is, but he was in Cleveland radio for a long time, and then he went down to Atlanta, and he was on one of the big stations down there. He's a recording artist. He just dropped a single. I think the video debuted yesterday. It's called I Caught My Wife, you know. So,
okay.
Yeah. But you're down there in Atlanta, and Atlanta is like the New York of the South, you know. At one point, anybody who wanted to make it in the music business, they had to be New York or L.A., and then Babyface made some moves, and L.A. Reid came to Atlanta, and then, you know, folks like the Goody Mob and Outkast and Usher and folks got discovered, and all of a sudden now everybody is in the A, and they're making music.
Oh my God.
And they're involved in business, and it's just really become a mecca for black folks in this country. So it's really nice to see you down there coming from where you came from and then doing the things that you're doing right now, using the system to create opportunity for yourself. Before we took the break, we were just talking about how important credit is and how you can leverage your credit to create opportunities for you both personally and both business-wise. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that people make with their credit. I know you mentioned paying bills late. There's also these magical formulas that they have. You know, they don't want you to have 10 credit cards and zero balances. They want you to be paying for stuff over a period of time. So tell us what some of the things that we can do that are detrimental to our credit, and then some of the things that are positive that will affect us in a good way.
Ooh, Vince got y'all. This is a good question because I left all that part out. Yeah, you want to make sure you pay everything on time. Pay everything on time. For some reason, people think that it's okay to have one late payment. Oh, it's just one late payment. No, pay everything on time. Keep your utilization down below 10%. You also want to make sure that you have at least 10 positive reports, 10 positive accounts reporting on your report, right? That boosts your score up and is part of the data points that are actually looked at. Another thing, stop hiding from creditors. A creditor wants to work with you. So if you're in a position, I just spoke to a client today, and a potential client. It was a consultation call, and I'm also taking consultation calls as well. Again, that's at MrsCashFlows on IG. You can click the link in the bio for that. But she was saying, like, hey, for some reason my student loans weren't included in the CARES Act, and they reported me late for 90 days. They asked me to write a letter about my hardship, but I didn't do so. So it's just one late payment. I was like, no, girlfriend, get on top of that letter, get that late fee reversed, because I want to let you in on a secret. Remember I told you guys that I filed bankruptcy, right? One of the data points that you want to make sure is pretty good and stable that is also looked at is the average age of your credit report. They take all your accounts and they divide it up to average it out. They want it to be at least average age of 5 years. And remember, all my major accounts were involved in my bankruptcy. So when I removed my bankruptcy, all those good accounts along with that history went away. So then it will appear that I only have the average age of 2 to 3 years. Guess what? My student loans, I don't want to date myself, so I'm not, gave me a lot of history. And so it's working on my behalf because I've always paid my student loans on time, right? Another mistake you are making is, how I want to say this, all the addresses that's on your account. So over time, they like to keep all those addresses and phone numbers wherever you live. I had stuff on my credit report from the age of 18 up. I had like 13 different addresses because you got to remember I had more than that, to be exact. I had a short-term rental business that was that had various addresses, 14 different addresses, plus any other addresses that went on there throughout the years. That does not look good. Go and call and get your personal information updated and corrected. Do that today along with the other actionable steps I gave you. You only want to have one address, one phone number, and one job. The rest of that stuff, remove it.
Okay. You know, I noticed in the days that I was watching television, there were always these commercials about how you can clean up your credit and the importance of I think there's a website, freecreditreport.com. There are questions about, well, if you log on to that, is it going to show up as you mentioned, a derogatory, it is a really interesting landscape, and you're giving us these tidbits about the do's and don'ts, Just talk in general about how important credit is. How can bad credit hinder you or prevent you from obtaining opportunities?
Oh, my God. You are losing with bad credit. Bad credit is the difference between someone paying 0% for a car loan versus someone paying 26% for a car loan. You are losing. That's the difference from someone paying $300 a month for a Mercedes-Benz and $800 a month for a Mercedes-Benz. The longer you keep bad credit, the more in debt you're going to get, the more you're going to stay behind the curve, the more you're going to suffer. Because if you have bad credit, I'm pretty sure your finances are suffering, and in business. So this is why I offer both. We need to get everything straightened out. You need an economic and a financial plan for your personal and your business. Let's teach ourselves what is actually possible and start developing some of these healthy habits in order to create, build wealth for yourself and for your family. Have something to pass on to your children. Okay. This is just scratching the surface, guys. We can get really, really deep. Hopefully I'm back on this show. This is just scratching the surface. Start here and begin to build. Because without it, you can never own any assets, right? Once again, ignorance is not bliss. You need to understand how things work. You don't have to like it, but I highly encourage that you understand it. Once you understand how the game is working, that's the only way you can win. Okay. Educate yourself.
Another question I think is really important, just to put things into a proper context, is how long does it take to repair your credit? Let's say you're in the 500s or the 600s and you want to push things up until, you get past that 800 mark. What kind of a timetable is involved in improving your credit to a point where you can have that lofty rating?
Yeah, now that's a very good question. I've had clients where the bankruptcy just went off immediately within the 30 days, right? Credit repair is an art, right? It just depends on what's going on. There's no step A and B. It's various things you have to deal with in order to take care of clients. It's various laws that's out there that we can use and tactics. If this doesn't work, we'll go here. A lot of the times we come up with strategies that has a higher success rate for certain things to be removed. So that's when you're kind of on the lucky side of things. But the longest I've seen credit repair go is maybe 9 months. And that's typically if it's something to do with like a public notice of some sort. But other than that, you're going to start seeing improvements right away.
Okay. So the beauty of it is when you repair your credit, then you'll put yourself in a position where you're not paying the highest amount of interest that you could pay on a loan. You'll get lower rates. You'll get higher credit limits. There are just so many things that go along with you proving that you are credit worthy. And then on the business side, you can just exponentially improve the amount that you can borrow so that you can make improvements to your business and start other businesses or perhaps make investments. The investment piece is a key piece. I think that was the thing that brought us together. And so, in a future show, I want to talk about some strategies that we can use to just provide so much generational wealth that we talked about. I mean, as we have this conversation, we are literally building opportunities to generate thousands of dollars. You mentioned starting an investment group and having folks come in with $100,000. So if you have 10 folks who come in with $100,000 and you got $1 million in working capital to make things happen, we're talking about fighting the effects of gentrification in our neighborhoods. We're talking about creating businesses that will employ and empower folks in our cities, and raise their level of financial literacy. This is a very important mission because when you look at the landscape, Black folks got $1.3, $1.4, $1.5 trillion flowing through their hands on a yearly basis. But as soon as we get it, we give it to somebody else. We don't do the things that are necessary to create businesses, to employ others, to generate a wealth that we can pass down to our children and our children's children. So we have to change the paradigm in order to change our reality. Aqueelah Shabazz, MrsCashFlow, thanks for joining me on 360 Info Network today. We're going to do another show for another radio program that I do, and we will get this part of it right. So folks will be able to see and hear you. Promise I'm going to do that for you, and we're going to do it soon. Once again, thanks for joining me on 360 Info Network.
Oh, thanks for having me, and thanks to the beautiful people who's coming under the sound of my voice. This is such an honor. Thank you.
All right. Once again, thanks for joining us. And we'd like to thank those of you who are listening and who have bared with us as we have done this experiment on Facebook and YouTube. I know there were folks that were out there looking at their screens and they can hear me, but they can't hear her. I'm going to put this broadcast up later today and you'll be able to hear the entire broadcast. And trust me, it's going to be worth it to you because she dropped some gems on you today. If you got money issues, you definitely want to tune into this because this information can change your life. I also want to continue to promote what I'm doing in terms of passive income. Reach out to me. My telephone number is 216-780-2470. Just text me. I'll just use hers, cash flow. Just text cash flow The 216-780-2470 will get you started. You'll be surprised at how easy it is, and it costs so little. You will not believe how affordable it is for you to go to sleep at night and wake up the next morning with more money than you had before. All right. We'd like to thank our engineer, Heaven. She pulled things together as best she could. And we'd like to thank you for listening. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your absolute best day. Cleveland and the rest of the world. Peace.
Amazing. Can I talk?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to turn the station transmitter off.